So guys, welcome back to a World War YouTube channel, and in this video we are jumping into the diet of Hitler. But before we start out with that, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button, and if you have any questions, please ask them in the comment section. So let's jump into Hitler's diet. So a lot of people think that Hitler was a vegetarian throughout time, so most part of his life, but actually the vegetarianism came at the end of his life when he wasn't actually feeling that well. Hitler suffered from Parkinson, as you can see in the video here, but he also took numerous prescription drugs, also opioids, because he wasn't feeling well. One of the reasons he took on vegetarianism isn't actually that much clear. Some say because of the death of his niece, the other people say because he was very gassy of meat, and that's why they took it out of his diet. He still had the fish though, so that wasn't a problem. Looking at Hitler's diet, he really loved potatoes with cottage cheese, oatmeal, stewed fruits, vegetable puddings, spaghetti, and often he had a daily consumption including eggs that were prepared in numerous ways. He also loved Leberklüsse, and that was something that he had a hard time saying no to, but he needed to because he was cutting down in meats. A little fun fact in between: the favorite dish of Hitler was spaghetti, and what he had as a last meal before he died was spaghetti, and it was prepared as a vegetarian dish. A funny thing is that Hitler's cook was Fräulein Massiri, but he also had a personal taste tester just in case he would be poisoned. So there was always a lady that would taste his food before he started eating, and they waited to see if she got poisoned, so he knew it was safe to eat. Next to that, Hitler actually also had quite of a sweet tooth because he loved German chocolate, and he also took scones with butter and jam. And there was this special apple and raisin cake that actually is named after him in Germany because he ate it all the time, and that is Führer cake, and that is just a simple white cake with raisins and with apple. So almost like an apple pie, but then with apple and raisins in cake basically. So he quite had a sweet tooth out there, and he also liked to drink some tea with that, and mostly it was an apple flavored tea. So we see that a little bit of the apple theme going on there in Hitler's diet. While saying this, there still is some conspiracy out there on what Hitler really did with his food, because for the general public, we know him as a vegetarian, but when we talk with insiders, it shows that he actually wasn't, and that's why I already called out the fish. But he really had, he stopped with meat, not because he loved animals, but mostly maybe because his own health. But he really had a hard time leaving sausages and everything out. Another thing is that his apple tea that I just talked about was mostly also with some added apple liquor. So apple tea was rather apple liquor, and he really with his pastry wise, when you look at his diet, it was predominantly there, meaning that eating so much sweets wasn't well for his teeth. And I, of course, have a picture of his dentures showing that these were very heavily impacted by his choice of dietary consumption. And most of his ways of eating was a well-kept secret because he somewhat ate as a child, but also a little bit as an elderly person at the same time. I would like to add in this part that the Nazis at the end of the day were big con artists, meaning that the way they perceived themselves often was a lie, and Hitler did so as well, because a lot of us, again, like I said in the beginning, had this image that Hitler was a vegetarian, and his way of eating was quite pure. But if you jump into the details, they also made sure that Hitler didn't consume, at least in the public eye, any alcohol, any red meat, and didn't smoke because of the production for basically armory and for the war, because a lot of people like to imitate Hitler back in the day. So when they didn't eat red meat, the production of red meat wasn't something that they needed to keep in account with in Germany. Same goes for the alcohol. It could be used for something different. And for same goes for the smoking. So there would be enough money for other things like weapons, so Germany could produce that. So at the end of the day, they were big con artists that even used something so simple as the diet of Hitler to influence people, so they didn't need to keep an account in that part of the production in Germany, so they could put the money elsewhere. So I hope with this little review and overview of Hitler's diet, you can have a little bit of an insight how he ate. I would say in this case that he sometimes ate a good standard diet, but also sometimes ate a very low nutritious food. And I'm not that surprised that at the end of the day that he had so many diseases going towards 1945, because he still drank, he still smoked, he still for a very prolonged time ate red meat, and all of those things are inflammatory for the body. So at the end of the day, and we're not so surprised, again, a very big fat lie of the Nazis. Hitler ate just like everybody, but at the end, he was eating meat free, but he did indulge in a lot of things that we often say nowadays that you shouldn't be eating that much from.